Alright, guys, for our reflective self assessment discussion, let's start by talking about how we can use learner assessment data to adjust our teaching practices. Any thoughts?
I think one way is by analyzing student performance in quizzes or assignments. If a lot of students are struggling with a particular concept, that tells me I might not have explained it well enough. I'd reflect on what teaching strategies I use and think about how I can make the lesson clearer next time. But how do we really know if it's our teaching or if it's the student's learning style that's the issue?
That's a good point. But I think using a variety of assessment tools can help us pinpoint the problem. For example, if I give both a multiple choice test and a performance task, I might notice if the issue is understanding concepts or multiple choice or applying them performance task. That way, I can reflect on which area needs more focus. But here's a higher order thinking question. How can we ensure that the changes we make based on self-assessment actually lead to improved student outcomes?
That's challenging. But I think we need to track the effectiveness of the changes we make. For example, if I adjust my teaching strategy and use more visuals, I should compare students' performance before and after the change. If I see improvements, then that's a good indication that I made the right adjustment. The real trick, though, is knowing when to make those changes. How do we determine the right time to reflect and adjust?
I think it's all about being proactive and constantly checking in with ourselves. Reflection shouldn't just happen at the end of a lesson or unit. It should be ongoing process. Maybe after each class, I could take a few minutes to think about what we went well and what didn't. That way, I can adjust my approach before the next class rather than waiting until the end of the unit. So, here's a hot question. In what ways can we incorporate student feedback into our reflective self-assessment process?
Great question. I think student feedback is crucial because it provides insights into how they perceive our teaching methods. We could ask them to fill out a short reflection form or even have a quick class discussion on what worked for them and what didn't. But we should also be careful not to let personal biases affect our reflection. How can we ensure that we remain objective in our self assessment?
That's where having clear criteria comes in. If I'm reflecting on my lesson, I should have specific goals in mind, like whether students were able to grasp the key concept or if they were able to apply what they learned in different situations. Using rubrics or predefined success indicators helps keep me focused on the outcomes, not just how I felt the lesson went. But here's another thought. What if the assessment data is telling us that we need a major change in our teaching approach? How do we handle that?
I think if the data consistently shows a need for a major shift, that's a sign we should do more just minor tweaks. Maybe it's time for a complete redesign of how we approach the topic. But the tricky part is how we grow in the professional through this. If we have to make major changes, does that mean we're failing as teachers or it is just part of our growth process?
I don't think it means we're failing at all. It's actually a sign of growth because we're adapting to the needs of our students. As we reflect and make adjustments, we are improving. So I think we have to see this as a part of our career development. I mean, we're all learning too, right? The key is to always be open to improvement, even if that means making big changes. Let's flip this around. How can reflective assessment help us grow in our career beyond just improving our teaching?
Great question. I think self assessment not only helps us become better teachers, but it also helps us build leadership skills. For instance, by reflecting on our own practices and learning how to make adjustments, we're showing that we can take ownership of our professional growth. It also teaches us to be more self aware and accountable, which are essential qualities for advancing in our careers. Plus, the more we reflect, the more we can mentor others and share our learning experiences.
I completely agree, and let's not forget that reflective assessment is key to staying motivated. If we're not reflecting on our progress, it's easy to burn out. By celebrating small wins, like successfully implementing a new strategy, we stay engaged in our own professional journey. So, in summary, reflective self assessment is not just about improving or teaching, it's about constantly evolving and being proactive in our growth as educators. What do you guys think?
I agree. It's an ongoing process that helps us become better at what we do while also helping our students succeed. I think the key is to be honest with ourselves, use assessment data wisely, and always be open to change. Reflecting on our strengths and areas for improvement makes us more effective teachers and more confident in our careers.
Exactly. And I think it's also about embracing the idea that growth isn't always linear. There will be setbacks, but as long as we're reflecting and adjusting, we're moving forward.
That's the mindset we need. We should be excited about the opportunity to grow rather than afraid of making mistakes.
I think we've nailed it. Reflective assessment isn't just about getting better at teaching, it's about shaping ourselves into lifelong learners who are always striving to improve. I'm excited to put this into practice.
Thank you.